Three, two, one, boom. We are live.
Yep.
So welcome to the 9th episode of the UnCut Theory Podcast. What should we talk about today? Because I have a few things. Should I go first? Or you have some exciting topics to just...
Let's start with the Twin Towers. Twin Towers. Again.
I think you probably would have seen this far at this particular point of time. If you live in India, you would probably be aware of that, especially if you live in Delhi NCR.
Yeah, especially if you live in Delhi.
Delhi NCR. So, I have my college in Sector 125 of Noida. So, it's like less than 5 kilometers from that particular point. And there's like basically these two commercial buildings that were standing right there. And what happened was, and this is a huge bullshit conversation that I can have for a long time. And I think from this particular point only we'll start today's podcast.
Was it commercial or was it residential?
Stories.
That I don't know.
Commercial.
Commercial.
I'm also not 100% sure, but I think it was commercial only.
Okay.
I'm like 90% sure it was commercial only. So yeah, the thing is, the construction of that particular property was going on for a decent amount of time. So what sort of like happened in that particular phase was that when you make a particular property, there's a map that needs to be passed. There's a lot of paperwork that you go through, but because India is a fairly corrupted country, you can get through a lot of stuff. So what happened was I think initial plan was to make 10 or 12 towers in that particular building, but the builder, the guy who's building the building, let's say, he thought he was a badass, and
basically the
contractor, exactly.
Yeah,
he thought that because shit like that could just
official term, I would say.
Yeah, shit like that can just like pass through in India and you can get away with bribery and stuff. And this sort of stuff used to happen, and it still happens till date. Now it's much more difficult because, you know,
so basically
there's a lot
happened,
of tech that is involved.
Yeah,
there's a lot of online paperwork that's involved. But back in the day, you can just get through a lot of shit. Like it was so easy back in the day.
I think we should first discuss the story, then discuss what it's related to, like the context and stuff like that.
Okay.
Let's just complete the story first.
Sure. Okay.
Let's just complete the story.
So this building was built illegally, and I'll be coming to that story. That's what I was explaining now. So government passed its order back in 2021 last year that they will just like, boom, that building will just go off. Building will be absolutely exploded. There's a lot of TNTs that would be there. It will take less than 6 seconds to just pop that whole building off. And this is what they exactly did. Like it was 28th August, I think. It was a Sunday. So they decided that the detonation time would be 2:30 p.m. and it was like streaming everywhere. Twitter, YouTube, all the news channels from morning. Like people were just so hyped up about it, and boom, the building went off. So the weird thing for me was that building was 800 crore rupees, or if I were to just say it in terms of dollars, in case people internationally watching, about $100 million. But people were so excited about it. Like every single one of the clips, even I tweeted about it. Like you can just go over on my Twitter if you have, by the time I'm talking, if you want to see what I said. It was so absurd to me. Why were people even clapping and they were just so excited about it? Like $100 million building just went down and you're excited about it. That's just beyond me.
Like
somebody had to just bear that loss.
I think you're not explaining it. Again, you're explaining it through the lens of somebody who already knows the story. I will dumb down the story basically. So the builder wanted more buildings because of course the builder and the contractor wants more buildings to be there, but the civil engineers and the government officials said no, this space specifically needs to be restricted for foliage and parks, basically gardens, foliages, parks, etc. And the builder was like, but what if? So basically he bribed a bunch of people, bribed a bunch of engineers, civil engineers, stuff like that. And basically somehow he made like 2 additional, like they were like total 12 towers there basically. 12 or 8, how many were there total?
I'm not so sure how many towers were there, but there were
Yeah,
supposed to be, I
two
think,
of
10 or
them-
12
two of
floors,
them-
and he made 16.
Yeah, two of them were made.
Mhm.
Two of them were made illegally because the builder just wanted more buildings. Because more buildings means you can cram in more people, like more
Mhm.
money for you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, for
So-
sure, for sure.
but I don't know how the story got picked up and how it got this hyped. I don't know about it. But again, like in this specific circumstance, I know like a lot of money was basically just basically like thrown down the drain, basically
Yeah,
a lot of
for
money.
sure.
And but in this specific case, I'm with the government because development like this needs to happen sustainably. You cannot just go and create like buildings haphazardly. There are a million reasons behind
I have a
it.
very
If-
different
if-
opinion. I have
if you
a
want to
very
make
different
like
opinion.
if you want to
Mhm.
make a good city, if you want to make a well planned city, I think that's where basically I draw the line. Like again, I want NCR and Delhi to be Delhi and like the Delhi NCR to be a like, how should I put this, a well planned city, like a beautiful city, just a beautiful city which has enough breathing
Mhm.
space and living space for everybody.
Uh-huh.
And like doing shit like this will like, again, it's like basically what happened to colonies like Uttam Nagar and Uttam Nagar, Tilak Nagar, which were basically colonies built to occupy like a sudden like after the partition, basically like the sudden onset of people that came to Delhi for like basically finding homes, etc, etc.
For sure, for sure.
And everybody knows like what's the situation in like these colonies that were made after the partition.
Yeah, if you live in West Delhi, you know it pretty well. Pretty well. You would be 100% aware of that. It's just that place isn't even like worth living. I would call it like that place is just dog shit. Like you just walk there, there's just like really narrow lanes. You can't even
Extremely
get your car
narrow lanes.
inside.
Again, some
Yeah.
again like some I would say are, again, like I wouldn't personally buy a property there, to be fair. But
And you talked about buying a
Like-
property. The property
Forget
over
about
there
buying the property.
isn't cheap at all. Property over there isn't cheap at all. That is insane to me. Like that place is just rat shit. Like I would never live there. To be honest, to be fair enough, I have never been to Uttam Nagar. Not even once in my life.
again, like
not even once.
I can again I like to interject. My grandma lives there, and again she lives she basically lives in the relatively more posh area, like considering Uttam Nagar
Okay.
and stuff. The place that that place, again, Uttam Nagar overall is like very very bad in terms of like breathing space and like how much living space you basically have. So basically if you
Mhm.
have a car, forget about driving that car anywhere. Even scooters and like two-wheelers struggle to like basically peruse through those narrow lanes. And
Yeah.
my grandma, she basically lives in, I would say, like the more outskirts of Uttam Nagar, which is, I would consider it to be, I would say, like more open, basically. And even then it's like super cramped. Like basically if you parked a car in front of my grandma's house, there is no way another car is going through that place. And she lives in the
Yeah.
relatively more posh area of Uttam Nagar.
So coming back to the conversation of Twin Towers, I have a very different opinion in that case. People are supporting the government. It's not like I'm against the government or something like that. I have a fairly different opinion, and there's a couple of things I would like to address that I
Again,
just
go on.
couldn't like fit in the tweet. Yeah. First of all, I wanted to tweet about and like make a whole thread, but you know what happens on Twitter. You say a bunch of stuff, the Twitter mobs behind you, they misinterpret the whole shit. Now people are against you. People call you a
Again,
bunch
they
of stuff.
just
People
continue
call
the
you a bunch of
conversation.
names.
Everybody knows what happens on Twitter.
Yeah. For sure. First of all, I don't like the notion or this ideology of having like these anti-capitalistic ideologies, you can say. People have hate for rich people, just have like enormous amount of hate, and they think if the government sort of like punishes rich people, it's justice in some sense, which is like complete bullshit. Like it's just jack shit. It makes zero sense.
Again, like I would like to
taking
argue,
the same example
you're
in-
not punishing the right type of rich. And
Exactly. First
I'll
of all,
stop there,
Mhm.
and I won't say. I will stop there. I won't say anything any further. Like, interpret it how you
Okay.
want it to, and like, if you live in India, you have like pretty good notion who I'm mentioning, and I won't mention it any further because
Okay.
we live in India.
Uh,
And
so okay. So the thing that I was saying was, if you look at the same situation back again, the fact that you demolished $100 million building or 800 crore rupees building, whichever way you want to put it, somebody had to bear that loss. Somebody had to go through that shit. People don't realize it. Like, even now, people are just like boycotting Bollywood movies. They don't realize the fact that there's a lot of people that are involved. There's a lot of people who get paid through that stuff, who make their ends meet because of that. Like, imagine the people that made the map, the civil engineers, all sorts of people were involved in that. And forget about the people and stuff in that sense. Just keep it aside for a second. Even just think about it. Like, there were guys out there that had bought floors in that specific building. They won't get anything. Now the builder or the concerned authorities would just declare like, hey, we just had so much loss, hence we are broke. We are bankrupt. And what they get? Nothing. Shit. And the next thing is, people were also clapping. And they thought that it was such a good thing. And I know people who like live in North Delhi and even like South Delhi who specifically came to see the demolition. Can you imagine? Can you just imagine?
again,
Are we living in some sort of like
again,
dystopian reality, some
probably-
shit? Like, people enjoy a building. This is like,
Again, like-
I don't want to
again,
say
like-
the word.
again,
This is
again.
based on an event that happened in the US. You know which event I'm talking about. I
Again,
just don't want to say
mention
the
it,
word
don't
because
mention it.
I just don't want to mention it. It's like equivalent to that kind of shit. Like, you're just taking a fucking
Fuck off,
building
dude.
down.
Fuck off, dude.
And
That
people
that
are
was
enjoying that.
that was a tragedy. This is not a tragedy. This is
Of
like
course that was a tragedy. But I'm
that was
saying
a
how
tragedy. This is
dystopian
not
the
a
world
tragedy.
is. I'm not comparing both of those events. I'm seeing a
Yep.
completely different I'm just like kind of like putting a completely different situation into context just to make some sort of relativity in between.
No, you should not do
How
that.
on the planet are people enjoying the explosion of a building? People are fucking taking pictures.
again, dude.
Can
Again,
you
dude.
imagine that shit?
If you know, like a building is getting demolished, an empty building is getting demolished. Again, I wouldn't drive out of my way. Like, it's how long in kilometers? How long do you think it would take me to drive to basically Noida? Not metro. If
40
I were
kilometers.
to drive,
40
if I-
kilometers.
like 2 hours, 3 hours max.
1.5 hour. 1.5 2 hours.
Not on
yeah.
metro. Not on metro.
No, I'm saying by car because it was a Sunday too. Like, at least 1.5 hour.
Again, I wouldn't do that
So-
necessarily, but like if a building is getting demolished, again, I don't know how to explain this. It's maybe the monkey brain inside everybody that goes, oh my god, things are getting demolished, let's watch it.
I just don't realize it. What kind of
Again.
destructive mindset have people sort of like
Again,
built?
There's
Like,
a difference
I was
between
blown away. Like,
again there's a difference between enjoying a building getting collapsed and like you knowing everything about the building and then like let's just say supporting like every rich building should be demolished. That's a different thing.
see, stuff didn't bother me until I saw videos on Twitter.
Again,
and people
I
were,
would
like,
have
fucking clapping.
I would have enjoyed it if regardless, if let's just say it was like an old skyscraper that the engineer said, oh, like this skyscraper is very old, it's like how many
that's
years.
a different thing. That's
Again,
a
like
completely
even
different
if that
thing.
building was about to get demolished and it was near me, I would probably just go outside and watch it because it's a spectacle in that sense. Like, and I think a lot of people just went out of their way to see
That's
the
beyond
spectacle, but driving like 1.5
I'm not
hours
even-
just to see this, like that's not worth it.
I'm not even complaining about that. I'm complaining about the fact that people are like clapping. That's so stupid to
Again,
me.
that's a bit much. I would agree, that's a bit much.
Yeah, and every single video that I saw on Twitter, I saw like at least 20 videos. And in every single video, people were clapping. They were hooting. They were just so excited about
like
it.
I don't get your perspective on that. Is why are you so, again, I get the notion of you are not
Okay.
Basically,
I'll tell
you
you
are
the full context. I thought,
again.
I thought I wouldn't tell you the whole story, but since you're asking, I'll tell you the whole context. What was the government even doing when shit like that happened? I'll tell you the full story, kind of like
Again,
backtrack it, then come
again,
back, and the whole story would
let's
make
not
sense.
go there. First of all, let's not go there. What I'm mentioning is, again, I get that you
Mhm.
hate the notion of people trying to, like, let's just say, uh, them trying to basically
Mhm.
backstab the rich or stuff like that, like overthrow the rich.
Yeah, people.
You hate that
Mhm.
notion, or like people trying to like stick it up to the big man, stuff like that.
That is just 10% of the equation. I was
Yeah.
going to tell you that that's
Yeah,
90%.
because like again, the thing is,
Mhm.
ultimately it's the
Mhm.
government fault. The government should not have accepted the bribe from the
Exactly.
builder to begin with.
Not,
But
it's
but-
not just the bribing part. Think about it for a second. Was the government just sleeping there? And listen to this. This whole problem started back in 2011. There was a court case that was filed back in 2012, and in Allahabad High Court, they passed the order in 2016. It took 4 years. And then it just went on and went on and went on. Then it went to Supreme Court. And then the final order came in 2021, and they said that the building was going to be demolished in 3 months, which further took a year. So think about it from people's perspective who had bought a place there in that building. It took them more than 10 years to go through that bullshit stuff of courts and government papers,
again, like,
lawyers,
that's
all
the thing
sorts
I
of
don't.
judiciary.
That's the thing I don't understand, because ultimately the
Mhm.
government isn't paying it out of their pocket. The builder is most likely not
Exactly.
going to pay. I think the builder basically ran. He basically ran away, most likely.
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying.
The
People
builder was
don't realize
basically
it.
said, I don't have the money. How am I gonna pay you?
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing.
And the
people
people
don't
are bearing
realize.
the cost. So, in that sense,
Exactly.
I would say, but
Exactly.
it should not.
That's the
again,
point.
again, let's just say if you were the man in charge, and you had the
Mhm.
option of,
Mhm.
you have two options basically. Destroy the building. So basically, let's just say, set an example, or anything. You have to destroy the building because
Okay.
it's not in the city planning, and this guy made this building illegally. Or you have the option of,
Okay.
let's just ignore this one.
No, I wouldn't ignore with this one. I would go with
Okay.
the third option. I would just like have a penalty on that guy of like 25, 30, 50 crores, whatever the legal system settles into be. And just the builder has to bear the penalty, and there's no cost.
But
Everybody's
the
happy
builder
about it.
most
The builder
likely
has to
made
make sure.
the builder most likely made more than their penalty.
Yeah, and the shit doesn't even stop there. If you have been to that part of Noida, because I have been to that part of Noida, the moment you kind of like go downstairs the metro station, on the right side there's just properties everywhere. And
Yeah, so
just talking about the
basically-
company that
Yeah.
that was involved was Supertech. They're just towers of Supertech. There's like a 45 floor building. I'm not sure about the exact number, but it's at least 30 floors. It's standing up there, and the same shit happened with that building. It's built on illegal land. There's a lot of illegal stuff that's involved in it. The government said to stop, and ever since then they have built even 2 additional floors on top of that. Can you imagine? There's like at least 20 buildings that you can see. The same shit, and that's beyond me.
Again, like, it
and
all comes back to
because
back to the government. Again, the best thing about capitalism is also the worst thing about capitalism, is that basically
Mhm.
power and companies. Again, like, the government always needs to, like, again, the best case scenario would have been the guy tried to make
Mhm.
the building illegally, and the government stepped in before the building was even complete. That's the
Mhm.
best case scenario.
Mhm.
And that's where
Okay.
regulation comes in. But because of corruption and stuff, it was all circumvented. So it all
Exactly.
boils down to corruption and the government not doing its job.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
For
it's
sure.
the government's job
That's
to basically enforce it, and they did not.
Mhm.
So
Exactly. That's the kind of thing that pisses me off, because even my dad bought a property back in 2008, I suppose, and the same shit happened back in 2012. The builder ran away. They were supposed to get the possession. They never got the possession. The thing is running in court. It's been more than 10 years. Every so often, my dad gets a call. He has to bring in a bunch of documents, go to the court, pay the fees, go through that bullshit. Nothing happens. So for me, I have kind of like pass that
Again,
particular
you
line.
again, that's
And-
like your sort of personal resentment, which I understand. Not personally or
this is
because it
not
happened to
even-
my family, because it's so rampant. This kind of shit's
And-
like builders making buildings and then running away. It's so common. It's so commonplace.
See, the problem is not the fact that I'm personally involved in this shit. The problem is rather something that's like completely different to me. The problem is rather that the authorities are just so corrupt that they don't even give a shit about anything. And I would just like to correct you there. The fact you said about capitalism kind of like doesn't really play a part here, because in any kind of system, if the authorities get corrupt, shit just goes down the drain. And you know it pretty well.
Again,
I mean, we are through with history.
Again, like
Mhm.
that's again, but what I'm saying in capitalism particularly, capitalism, it's about corporates basically.
Yeah.
Capitalism is about corporates, and the corporates should do everything
For
in
sure.
their power to get profits.
Yeah.
Everything in
For
their
sure.
power, and the only thing that's stopping them from exploiting everything basically
It's the government.
is the government.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not even sure about it. This kind of shit is just beyond me, to be honest. And
Again, like
I don't even know. Mhm.
one of the best movies in like Indian cinema history is Khosla Ka Ghosla,
Uh-huh.
if you know. And this movie
I've not
was
seen that movie.
again like
Oh, yeah,
imagine
the-
imagine like to the viewers specifically, imagine having a social issue that's so rampant they have to make a movie about it. Like that just
Yeah.
goes to show you how commonplace this property struggle in India is. So basically, I will like summarize the story very short, like in a very briefly. Khosla Ka Ghosla is about like a below middle class, I would say,
Mhm.
like below middle class family that's barely scraping, not
Lower
barely
middle
scraping,
class.
but lower middle class basically family, and like the father works in a government job. They have and like their eldest son recently got his job, and like he is like basically trying to get a job abroad, and
Uh-huh.
the father works a government job, and he has collected all this his pension money and all his funds together to buy a new home that's better for their family, because currently they are living in a like a very old rented place, something like that. So basically
Yeah.
he pours all his life saving into getting a property. He buys it from a local property dealer, which everybody does that. If you ever enter
Everybody
Delhi,
does that, exactly.
if you have, no, even if you enter India, you will see random small shops that say Dash Properties, Goodwill Properties, this property, that property. They are all property dealers basically, and I think none of them have any sort of licensing or any sort of certification that they are like certified
Nothing.
property dealers and stuff like that. Nothing. They all they know is like ringing in contracts and stuff like that. So basically, they buy this property from a property dealer, and they are about to start the construction for the house. They have all the blueprints ready. They have all the like the builders and stuff ready. And what happens is one day they came to inspect the land that they bought from the property dealer, and it's walled off by bricks, by basically a makeshift house. So there's like a door there, so they try to ring the door, and like a henchman comes out and like tries to intimidate them, saying that this is not your property, go away, this property belongs to this guy. So basically the father went, oh, I think it's sort of a misunderstanding, let's just go meet this guy and like basically sort this misunderstanding out. Like first the father thought basically that this guy accidentally built on my property, because there are a lot of properties around where he brought the area. There's a lot of vacant land, and the guy accidentally has put up the building, or have started the construction on his house, or basically his land. So basically they went to, and the guy they went to is extremely mega rich. Like he has a whole entire ass mansion and stuff like that, and you can tell what like this guy is up to no good. Basically the guy that has basically walled off their property. So the father goes and to basically like clear up the misunderstanding, but there he finds out that the guy that has walled off his property is working with the property dealer, and now they're basically asking him for a ransom so that they can basically free his property.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Imagine buying a property and basically some thugs come in and like basically take over your property and you can do nothing. Of course, the first thing that they do is they approach the police. The police does not do anything. They approach like they sort of go through their contacts. They approach politicians. They approach activists. They approach the lawyers, stuff, everything. They tried everything under the sun. Nobody is willing to help them without like taking money. Like nobody is. Again, first of all, nobody makes promises that we are going to help you, and even if they do, they want money in return, basically, because India is corrupt in that
For
ways.
sure. Yeah.
So basically, again, I won't go into how the movie ends. Basically, their eldest son, who is like figuring out like how to find a job and stuff like that, he comes like he has a friend that works in like a theater troupe and stuff like that, and they sort of do this song and dance and basically scam the person who has basically taken over their property, the mega rich guy that I mentioned, to basically scam him to giving them money and use that money to basically pay the ransom. And it's the interesting part of the movie. And in the end, it's a happy ending. They finally got their property, and like they also have some extra money after scamming that person and stuff like that. And they divide it amongst themselves, and it's a happy ending. But that rarely happens. In a realistic scenario, their property gets hijacked by some like mega rich dude that has had a lot of influence, and he can like influence the politicians and influence the police. So basically, you have, in the end, you can do two things: either spend your entire life, not even joking, your entire life in like courts and stuff trying to fight over this legal battle, which you will most likely lose. And even if you don't lose, you're gonna lose a lot of money in legal fees and stuff like that. Either that, or you can pay this guy his ransom, basically. And this has happened.
sure.
This has happened, and it still happens. So basically, if you're wondering if there is a cut in between, we didn't do it. The network just went poof. So yeah, I don't think we will be continuing. Like what were we discussing, Deergh? I don't remember what we were discussing.
We were twin towers and stuff.
Oh yeah, Twin Towers and
We'll
stuff.
just skip it off. We have discussed enough about it.
Yeah, and like halfway in the moment, I was seeing like, I think you were talking and I was like just listening. The audio went away, and this guy was basically wondering, like he is listening very diligently, and not saying anything. And like about like 30 seconds, he messaged me and stuff like, "Hey, why aren't you saying something?" And I messaged him back like the network got away, stuff like that. So let's just continue. So
Okay.
what I wanted to bring up is the time.
He has a funny
friend.
incident.
Yeah, it's a very funny incident. The time my friend here.
It's not funny for me.
Again, it's not funny for me. It's pretty funny for him at least, but it's very funny for me. The time this guy nearly drank something poisonous, let's just say.
Oh, that was for sure. I think that
not. First of all, if YouTube you are watching, not in self-harm's way, more like accidental way. Putting that out there, YouTube. And nothing came of it. He was fit and fine. He's sitting here with me, extremely fit and fine. No need to worry.
I'm hoping. That actually happened like 2 years ago. So what happened was I ordered garlic bread off of Amazon. I ordered actually a bunch of stuff. So garlic bread was left. We ate the pizzas, everything. It was done. So you know what happens in India. If you have some leftovers, put it in the fridge. Put it on the bottom layer of the refrigerator and like, oh, I'll just eat it tomorrow. And that's exactly what happened. So what happens with garlic bread, in case you ever ate, you would have 100% had that experience. It's not that soft after a particular period of time. So I just put it inside of microwave, 30 seconds, do the stuff that I'm supposed to do. Then I realized it's a bit dry. So I thought I would just like grab a glass of cold drink. And what happens is, if in case you have noticed, every time I drink water, I go like this. I don't touch it. We Indians have this like very weird habit, and that's extremely unique to us Indians, that we just don't pour the water from a bottle into a glass. We don't do that.
It's wasteful,
we just, like,
dude.
drink
It's
it straight away.
wasteful. Why would I do it? Because it's wasteful.
Yeah.
Again, like if I'm
So
if I'm
I have
taking like a
this-
full glass, I wouldn't drink it. Like if I only want a sip, I wouldn't like bother wasting a glass and putting it into like the dishwasher and stuff like that. I would
Okay.
basically just take a
So-
swig and I'm done.
Yeah, exactly. So what happened is, what happened in that particular incident was, I thought that a bottle. So what happened is, I opened up the drawer.
The mic,
It was,
the
like,
mic,
on
the
the
mic, the
bottom.
mic.
Yeah. I opened up. Okay, thanks for telling. So I opened up this drawer, and this drawer is on the right side. Imagine me being here, and the drawer is on the right side, and I can see it. So the first one is, I think the bottle is like full. I was like, well, I'm gonna like take the seal off. So I was like, okay. Next bottle. The next bottle was the same. It was a brand new bottle. It was, I think, Thumbs Up or Coca-Cola. Then I went on and grabbed the third bottle, didn't even noticing what it was, and that had a seal of, I think, Coca-Cola, I suppose. I just picked it up, didn't see what was inside. It looked like Coca-Cola. I just went in. The liquid kind of like went in for about 1 or 2 seconds, and I didn't chug it. So just in that span of 1 or 2 seconds, my whole, like my lower jaw, the gums of both the jaws were burnt away. That's how extremely alkaline that material was, and that is like used to clean like all sorts of stuff. That's like used to clean, I think, chimneys and stuff. It's like if you throw it up there, everything is gonna drain down.
What
if you throw
was
it inside
again?
of a,
What was it exactly?
oh, it was for like cleaning chimneys and stuff. So if there's kind of like anything there, you just like put it in, and the whole chimney is clean. That's how extremely alkaline that material is.
Basically,
If you
an
put it
extremely
inside the
corrosive substance.
exactly.
And this guy was doing
that
shots.
just went in my mouth.
Shots of it, basically.
No, I wasn't doing shots of it, and luckily, touch wood, I didn't drink any of that. Like I didn't even chug it once, and my whole throat was burning after that, and my whole stomach, I was feeling like shit in my stomach, and I had to contact the doctor. Then I had to I wasn't able to eat first of all for 2 or 3 days because my whole throat was kind of like in a bit weird position, and my whole gums were burnt away. So I was only on liquid diet for like 2 or 3 days. It was a shitty day. Like I'll just say it. It was a really stupid day. I told my parents, they were shocked and stuff. I just don't want to remember it. But now I think of it like drinking poison is a stupid way of dying. It tastes so bad.
Again, drinking poison accidentally is a stupid way of trying. Again.
Yeah.
Again.
I don't even know why people do that.
Again.
And
the question
fun fact. Let me
Go on.
finish. The last thing that I didn't tell you. I asked the doctor, what if I just chugged it once? You know what he said? He said we would, in that particular case, have to rush you to the hospital, insert a pipe inside of your body
And
that
basically
would go inside
pump
and
it
take
out.
the entire liquid out. You have to
Yeah.
vomit it out like 20, 30 times until you make sure the entire liquid is out. I was like, thank
Because
God.
yeah, again, like
And that was coming from an atheist.
again,
I was thanking
again,
God.
like the issue with toxins and stuff is it's not poisonous if you just eat it and stuff like that. It becomes poisonous when it enters your bloodstream. So basically, they have to prevent it from going inside your liver and metabolizing in your stomach, like liver and stuff.
Mhm.
Because
yeah,
like technically, like poison itself is not, most of them is not like dangerous to you, but when it goes into your liver and your liver basically changes it to something else, then it becomes poisonous. I don't know what this substance was or what it exactly was. It was most likely a very corrosive substance, so it could have done an n number of things, and luckily this guy, again, like, first of all, leave that aside. I think this question is running down everybody's mind who's watching this podcast. Why was the bottle of this highly corrosive substance just next to Coca-Cola and like other sodas? Why?
It looked like that. The fact is, it was in the same bottle. The color of the substance was exactly like Coca-Cola. And the third thing was, even the paper, the packaging had Coca-Cola written on it. Because we are
Basically,
careless in India.
you were storing that thing in a Coca-Cola bottle. What I asked him, and even then he ignored this question. Why was this extremely highly corrosive substance? Again, storing it in a Coca-Cola bottle, understandable. Everybody does that.
Oh, people inside my house would have thought there's a bunch of bottles there. It's in another bottle. Let's just keep it with a bunch of
But
bottles.
why?
I don't understand why.
I can understand storing it inside a Coca-Cola bottle. Like it's basically plastic and like very thick plastic, so it's pretty resilient
also,
in that sense.
It was such a no, it was not resilient. Another thing, it was such a corrosive material that like a few months after that we had to change the fucking bottle because the bottle was melting down. Can you imagine? And that shit went inside of my mouth.
Again, makes you
Now
wonder.
that I think about it, yeah, makes me wonder how stupid
Dumb ways
I
to
am.
die. Dumb ways to die.
Dumb ways to die, exactly.
Again, like
I cannot
now
even
that you
imagine,
mentioned
like,
this,
dying like that.
now that you mentioned
Mhm.
this, it's not
Mhm.
necessarily a near-death experience, but it could have been a near-death experience. What happened to me
Yeah.
is like when I was
It
super
was
old.
actually a near-death experience.
Yeah. I don't think I mentioned this to you, but it happened when I was like super young, like so young
Mhm.
that I couldn't even comprehend who I was.
Mhm.
So basically, we went to a trip on Bombay to meet a bunch of relatives and stuff, and
Okay.
this is my first time seeing the sea. Like, take this: we are on like on a pier and stuff like that, and I walk up to the edge. My father is beside me, and I'm like super young,
Uh-huh.
like super short. So
Uh-huh.
I don't think he was necessarily holding my hand and stuff like that, but I
Mhm.
just went, I saw the sea. I don't know what fucking crawled up inside my ass. I just went and straight up jumped out of the pier into the sea. Luckily, my uncle was there and he grabbed me just before I was like out of his reach. But he nearly grabbed me. He pulled me over, and like in the process, like my knee and feet got bruised, but that was basically okay. I don't know what happened. Like this is why like I advocate that kids are stupid. Kids should not be given any sort of like responsibility and stuff like that. Kids are fucking stupid. I was stupid, you were stupid, everybody
was stupid back in the
everybody
day.
was stupid basically. And this is my story to basically justify why kids are stupid, because this was me when I was a kid. And
Yeah.
people now, I know people who do even more insane stuff now that I'm an adult.
Yeah.
And these people have never grown up. So imagine how stupid they were when they were like kids.
For sure.
And like
And
again,
talk-
my father pulled me up after my uncle pulled me up. He also grabbed and pulled me up. First thing he said, the shouting, angry voice, "What the fuck were you thinking?" Not like he didn't curse me, but he was like, "What were you thinking? Why did you jump?" I just said, "I don't know. I don't know why I jumped." It like again, like it's very easy to say like I slipped and stuff, but I did not slip. I just went on and jumped. Like thinking back, I don't remember what was happening inside my mind. The closest thing I could think is I just wanted to swim,
Yeah.
and the water beneath me was probably like 20 feet deep, and I didn't even know how to swim back when I was a kid.
For sure.
Again, like I think I'll name
I can
will
understand that.
I will name this segment "Kids Are Stupid" basically.
Okay. Also, sort of like talking about stupidity.
Again,
It's just so weird to me.
He is very well known this stupidity. If you think you know stupid people, think again. This guy meets more stupid people than like, what can I say? Like he meets more stupid people than like
Anybody
a
would
doctor
have ever
seeing-
met.
No, not even that. I'm thinking of an allegory that can fit, because like what can I say? Like there is not enough stupidity in this world to like comprehend how stupid like the people that he knows is basically.
and none of them have any sort of mental illness. I'm not making fun of anybody by that by saying
Again,
stupid.
Not
Yeah.
again, like that's a different thing. That's not like necessarily excusable, but you understand and then people who have that sort of like disability and stuff like that. But this is fully functioning members of society. But I don't believe it. First of all, they are not fully functional. Like the people that he knows, basically.
Yeah.
Like
for sure.
Like if you're
and this is like all through my childhood.
If you're like a LA YouTuber, you wish you have friends like these, because they, like the sort of story he tells me, like so many stories, so many like stupid story he like recites me of his friends that basically blows my mind. Like how stupid can these people be? Like would you want to like explain like a story, like just one story without name dropping anybody, just one story, please? I want the audience to experience this.
Which story?
Any story.
I can't think of it. That's
just
the weird thing.
Just don't be very specific, because like we can't be sure like they are not watching.
No, first of all, I'm not going to name anybody.
Okay,
secondly, which story are you specifically talking?
Do not name drop anybody regardless.
I'm
just
not
don't
name
be
dropping
just
anybody.
but that they can take this into mind. Don't be very specific, because like there are certain stuff that only some people can do in his stories, basically.
Okay, but the thing that I'm saying is, which story do you want me to tell?
Any. Pick your poison, man. Pick your poison.
That's the weird thing. You tell a singer to sing a song, it's like, I don't know which song to sing. Like that's the kind of shit that's happening with me.
The only stories that I remember,
I have a lot of stories.
Again, like the only stories that I remember are like highly specific stories that would like immediately, if somebody is watching, he would immediately know. If somebody knows us too and he watches this podcast, he would immediately know who we are talking about.
Not exactly, because you need to know a lot of people. You need to know me. You need to know all my friends. Then you will get the context. If I'm speaking a story of my college friends, you need to know them. If I'm just talking about a story of my school friends, you need to know them.
Let's just do school friends.
It's
because
highly,
I think that's more safe.
School friends. Okay, yeah, that's pretty safe, because I'm not in contact with a lot of school friends now these days.
Yep. Again, let's just change their name. Let's just change their name. Like, again, it would be hard.
Let me think of a story.
Not, let's just say he, she.
I know a story for sure. I know, and we, you know that person pretty well. And the best part about the story is, I am not in contact with that person for like the last 5 years. I don't know anything about that guy. Like no fucking shit. I don't know anything. The last time I saw that guy was back in 11th class, and that's it. I don't even know, because he was not so in the Indian education system, after you graduate, 10th class, basically you have 3 options. You have to pick up your stream. So the stream that me and you we picked up, and we were in the same class by that time, we picked science. You have commerce, or some people call it business, and the third one is arts, or some people call it humanities. So I don't even know in which stream was he, but this incident happened back when we were in 8th class. So in 8th class, we were in the same class. Our section was 8th B, and that's it. That's all the personal details I'll mention.
8th
now,
B.
Coming to the story.
Again, like I don't want you to mention it, and I don't want you to go through the headache of like censoring his name. But can you just message like his real name on like Discord and stuff?
The moment I tell you the story.
Again, so I just have the context. Again.
And by the way, your camera has it's fine.
Let's just message me on Discord, like so I at least have the context of who I'm mentioning.
I'll tell you this. That will be the fun part, because I don't want you to have the sort of like the context until half of the story goes away.
Yeah.
That's the reason.
Okay, guys, we are going in blind. To the audience, we are going in blind. Yeah. Continue, Deer.
Okay. So what happened was, back in the day, we used to have, back in school days when you did anything. I'm not talking about mischievous shit. I'm just talking about the normal stuff. You forgot to bring the notebook. You didn't submit the assignment on time. The teacher would write sort of like a note in your diary. And if stuff sort of like got a little further than that, she would mention your name in the discipline register. And if stuff even got further than that, then you will get a green card, which is, by the way, I think like a 7-day or 15-day suspension, which is basically like nothing.
Yeah,
you can't come to school. It's like 15-day It's like a 15-day holiday for you. Enjoy. Like that kind of shit.
Yeah,
And
basically,
it never even gets
again,
mentioned.
like the
It's like
green
you
card.
get 3 green cards, then you're suspended.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
basically like the football system. Just the color is changed.
Yeah, exactly.
So basically, in
Exactly.
our school, we had like a 3 green card system, like a 3 strike system. And if you get 3 green cards, you get a final warning.
Suspended.
And after that, you get an orange card, which is basically termination from the school. Yeah, you
Yeah,
are basically
exactly.
restricted or
So-
suspended.
Yeah. So what happened was, in the beginning of the day, me and my friends didn't bring our English notebook or something like that. It was I'm almost 99% sure it was English literature notebook. Sorry, the book. So the teacher was going through a chapter, and what happened was she wrote the name of everybody in the class inside the discipline register. And one of my friends, like we were a group of 4 or 5 friends. One of my friends had his name written inside of the discipline register, but the problem was the amount of entries that were there inside of this guy's in front of this guy's name were like way too many. It was like more than 10, and it was a Friday, so the next day was a PTM. PTM means a parents teacher meeting. So halfway through the day, and remember back in the day we used to have a full Friday. Our school had like, you had to go at 7:50.
bullshit.
The day started at 8
Yeah,
o'clock.
basically,
8 o'clock, 2:15, the day ended. But on Friday, you had 2 lunch breaks, and the day was like till 4 p.m. So halfway through the day, in the middle of the first break, it was like 10:30, 11 o'clock. This guy was like, I was like, fucking shit, I have a lot of entries in front of my name. The teacher's going to show this particular thing to my parents tomorrow. What the fuck should I do? Blah 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 blah. He's going through the whole story. He's like cursing a lot. He's going crazy. Everybody's looking at him. So if the moment everybody goes out, he's like, I'm gonna pick the discipline register. Like, he told me, or it was some other guy, because we were tall enough even back in the day to kind of like pick it off the Almirah. So he picked it up, and then I was like, what if I just sort of like vandalize it? Sort of like mess with the records, just tear off a bunch of papers, or like damage the discipline register, keep it inside somebody's bag, and they just go to their home without even noticing it, because I mean, who the fuck checks their bag every 5 seconds? So he thought that. So they had a bunch of conversations. We were running a bunch of shenanigans. The day went passing by. Just a few minutes before the second break that we had at like 1:50, and it was still like 2:20, or it was 1:45 to 2:15, somewhere around that. It was a half an hour break. So somewhere around that time, he thought, let's just open up the window. There's apartments on that side. We'll pick the fucking discipline register. That guy, it was not my idea, full disclosure. I just saw it, like first-hand experience. So he just picked it up, threw it out of the window. That was his idea. But the guy was a dumb motherfucker. He didn't realize that there's something that's known as air friction. In the middle, the notebook would open up and the gravity would just pull it down. He didn't think about that. So me, another guy, another one of my friends, and another friend, 3 friends were there. I can say the name of all of them. I remember it pretty clearly, but I won't, because I just want to have anonymity, let's say. I was standing there, kind of like inspecting if nobody from those apartments were looking at us. These 2 guys were at the door, making sure that no teacher or no student was kind of like passing by. And at the very right moment, he threw it with full force in this like projectile motion, and kind of like the notebook opened it in between, and it just went straight onto the top of the canteen. It was just like a few meters, and it could have like passed by the school and nobody would have ever noticed. On Saturday, it rained, and I pretty well remember what happened was, this was our school building, let's suppose. This is the school canteen just below it. And after the school canteen, there's like this 12-15 feet wall, and there's apartments on the other side. Just a few meters would have got that guy's job done. Next day, it rained. So what happened was, from the ceiling of the canteen, it just went down. And our class teacher got hold of that. And our class teacher was like, who the fuck did that shit? She was going all crazy, but all of a sudden she had realization. And it's basically common sense. Who would do that? The guy who has had the most amount of entries. And the suspicion came onto that guy. But our teacher was like too nice. Instead of complaining like the coordinator and going through all the bullshit and like complaining right to the principal, which was probably what any other teacher would have done, she said it pretty clearly. After class, you can come to me, just say sorry, this matter is over, I'll never grow anywhere. Nobody will ever talk about it. So this guy was actually freaking out. He came up to us like, oh, we are in trouble. We're busted. I'm like, I'm not busted. You're fucking busted. So after that, we sort of like have a solid conversation about for 15 minutes. And I said, I think it's better to actually say it because it's almost 100% certain that you have like 3 times the amount of entries as any other guy and the suspicion would just come on to you. So he just went on, talked to the teacher. The matter was just over. And this same guy has done so many stupid things. Like, I'll just start talking and you'll know exactly who the guy is.
Again,
you know, you pretty well know.
Again, like
you know who the guy was.
I have posted my guess on Discord.
No.
No?
No.
Just tell me. Just break the suspense, please.
No. I'll tell you after the podcast. You
Okay.
want to know another incident that he did?
Again, go on.
If I tell you this incident, the OG people, in case anybody by chance, even if they're watching this, they would straight away guess because it was such a funny incident that happened in our school and it's just so famous. So a bunch of guys were playing football. So what happened was, and I'm just going a little out of context. It would be so much more funnier if I explained the same story in Hindi. Because you can get the whole context. That's the kind of stuff.
Again, like
that's
the dialogue,
that's the reason.
Trying to translate the dialogue that they have is more difficult if you like to do it in English. And again,
you
just
kind of
continue,
like lose the
just
feel.
Continue,
that's
but rather than just saying it, he, like give them like a pseudonym and stuff.
No.
Just give him like.
I just want to go with he. I just want to use the pronouns. That's it. So.
Just use like it becomes very confusing. Like if you like mention a lot of people.
No.
Just use
the
like,
problem is the problem is that. Okay, I'll say Mr.
J,
X.
Mr. X, something like that. Just take their initials
Mr.
and
X.
go like just take their initials.
Because the problem is the moment I say somebody's name, I'll accidentally say the guy's name.
Again.
That's not what I want to do. So
again, just say Mr. A or like A or like just use their initials like BJ, something like that.
Mr. R. Let's call him that way. Okay.
RS. Have I guessed correctly? RS. Yeah, let's just use the word RS.
Okay. This guy, RS, we were playing football and what happened was, as far as I'm sort
like
of
just
like
thinking
so
about his name. Just thinking about his name. Like
that,
it reminds me of.
exactly.
Yeah, reminds me of all the hijinks this guy has done. All the hijinks. He was basically the Joker of our school.
Yeah, the clown of the house, dude. I'm sort of like tearing a little bit because it was like a flashback of all the memories that came into my head because he has done like all sorts of the most stupid shit that you can think of in our school.
Yeah,
it's
like
fucking
just remembering.
crazy thinking about it.
Yeah, he has been my classmate for like a lot of grades. Yeah, he has been my classmate for like
for 2 grades.
Almost 2 grades. I would like 7 grades. I would say like 7 grades for me.
Okay. You want me to continue with that story?
Sure,
that story is like
just
so
go
funny.
on. Just go on. Like I don't even care if the audience is not
dude.
listening or anything. I just want to remember the stories.
Because it's like sort of like nostalgia for me. Okay. So what happened was, I think this same shit happened in 8th class. He has done a lot of shit in 8th class. He has done a lot of shit.
Like if you know this guy, especially if you're the teacher, and if you hear this guy's name, you only think like imagine Dennis the Menace, but like personified. This is this guy.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't even like good at like just like practical jokes and stuff. He was very good at like even like verbal jokes and stuff. Like he was basically a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
Like he was so good.
Yeah, but if he was a stand-up comedian, all of his jokes would be R-rated for sure. For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, just continue.
So
just continue.
I'll continue that story. So what happened was we were playing football back in 8th class, and it was I think the period after lunch break. So what happened was, and this is the common shenanigans that goes on in every school, I suppose. If you have a games period after lunch break, Your lunch break is your games period, basically. That's what happens. So break, we play football, and people are going crazy. I think football is like 8v8. There's 8 players on left side, 8 players on right side. That's what the normal is. But there are like at least 20 guys. 20 guys on the left team, 25, 30 guys on the right team. So, something like that.
Always has been. Always has been. Everybody
always has been.
Like, again, like the thing you mentioned, like on Fridays we have an extended day. Let's just say till 4 p.m. Normally our school days end at 2:15, but at Fridays we basically had an extended day till like 4 p.m. And the last 2 hours is basically allocated to sports activities. And everybody and their mother wants to play football. Nobody wants to play badminton. Again, some students do, but almost everybody just wants to play football because it's the most interesting game you can play on our specific, let's just say, school. Because we have like a very good sports ground and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And everybody wanted to play football, and this was basically the norm. Let's just continue. I'm giving them some context.
For sure. So what happened was, we were playing football and people were like crazy. That's what happens. Like after a particular period of time, people just go crazy, just like try as hard as they can. So this guy kicked the ball, and what happened accidentally was his shoes came off. Remember that story?
Absolutely.
I remember that story very well.
Absolutely.
In case you haven't played football, or as some people like to call it, soccer, you have studs. So if you don't tie them properly and it's loose, sometimes you need to have the perfect fit. But what happened was, back when we were kids, people used to buy it a size higher than that, because you have to put in tall socks, your shin guards, I think, like, that's what you call it.
Yep, shin guard. So basically, like every Indian household stuff, like, it's a very expensive shoe. Like if you're buying from like a reputed like Nike and stuff, which was like basically the best football shoes you could buy at that time. So basically, if you're buying it, no parents wants to like buy shoes for their, like, expensive shoes for their kids every year, because kids, like, if we are all teenagers back then, everybody outgrows their size in like 6 months, stuff like that. So no parents wants to buy like shoes every year for their kids. So they basically buy a size higher so that they can just they can just use their shoes like for an extended period of time. But that sort of stuff works for normal shoes, not for like sports, like shoes meant for sports and stuff, because a tight fit is very necessary, I would say, if you want to like play football and stuff.
So what happened was, when he kicked the ball with full force, like he just went full in, his shoes came off, and his shoes went flying to the ground. Like, this was our ground, this was the tennis court there, and this was another goal. So it just went flying all through the tennis court outside of the school. So there was an uncle passing by, and there were like two sides of the story. I'll tell you first the first side, and then the second side, which is the reality. The first side is, he told that uncle, please can you give me the shoe? But the guy was old, and that guy was on some
cynical, I would say, like a bit cynical.
I was thinking of the word. He was cynical, like extremely cynical. He was like, how can a teenager tell me to pick his shoes? Not the kind of stuff that I would expect, but he thought that you were like disrespecting him and shit. So he cursed. That's the real story. But he told everybody that he didn't curse. But what happened even before that, before he cursed, that guy went absolutely crazy. He's like, oh, I'm just going to enter your school gate and talk to the fucking principal. That's not the way to talk, blah, blah, blah. Kind of the shit that
every cynical every old cynical dude would do, basically.
Yeah. Oh, that kind of shit happens in India. I haven't been outside, so I can only say it for India. That happens in India quite a lot. So that guy was fully raged up. He thought, I just go and talk to principal. And remember I talked about two sides of the story? Everybody, before even he cursed and stuff, everybody told and sort of like started spreading rumors that that guy, Mr. RS, cursed. And people were like going crazy. Oh, he cursed. And after that particular thing happened. And then he went to the principal. So he came back, talked to our class teacher. He was like, "Oh, nothing happened, blah blah blah." And our classmates were all supporting him. He said it so politely, blah blah blah. But in reality, he just cursed right in that old man's face. So he was going crazy. He went to the principal's office. He was lecturing for straight 30 minutes. The principal was pissed off because she had some other work to do. And this old fucking dude came in and was like talking shit about our school, talking shit about the principal and authorities. And it was a crazy day. Like, then the principal came in, then the co-coordinator came in, the coordinator came in, then our class teacher came in. And, forget about the games period. This shit happened just exclusively in the lunch break. Our games period were gone, and the rest 3 periods were gone. Like, no studies, nothing. It was such a fun
Every
day to
teacher
think
was
about
basically
it.
busy because like it was such a ruckus in school. And the thing is, like, this sort of stuff has happened, like when like the students sort of like the same thing, the same guy, Mr. RS, when he was like in like 7th grade with me, he had a brilliant idea. Like there, right next to our school buildings is the residential buildings basically. So like right after, I would say like 11-12 p.m, a guy would like come out of like of his room and do like yoga on his balcony. So
I know
basically
that story pretty well.
Mr. RS, this mad lad, have a genius idea. Let's try to distract this guy. So what's the best way of distracting a guy? Let's just throw paper balls at them. Again, this guy also ignored air friction and stuff, so all the paper balls just landed on the canteen roof. But he had an epiphany. He had his eureka moment. Let's dip the paper balls, in water and try to throw it then. This guy went, emptied his entire water bottle on like this giant piece of paper, rolled up paper, threw it with its entire might, landed face first on the guy who was doing yoga. but the thing is, the guy doesn't know who threw it. The guy doesn't know who threw it. So
Because everybody just went down that wall.
again, like it could have been any person in the class.
Yeah.
And like there are like I would say like 20 guys in this class. Nobody is
Yeah.
telling who did this. Again, even if the
Yeah.
teacher has like suspicions, like obviously it was probably this guy. Again, you cannot pinpoint because most often
Yeah.
than not in most classes there is like a group, like a thieves gang, let's just say, who like they
Thieves
hang out
gang.
together. They like, if RS is doing something stupid, these guys are basically like his, let's say, right hand and left hand. They are basically with him every single time. So you cannot pinpoint who exactly did this, but you know it's basically somebody among this group. So basically you can get away with this. This specific situation, I remember. This specific situation, the guy is missing a shoe. So it's very easy, very easy to identify who did this, basically. So like
Yeah.
he was, I think I remember RS mentioning, hey man, can you like borrow me your shoe and stuff like that for like, I was like, no, fuck you man, I'm not entering your shit, like I'm not entering your shithole. And like he even considered buying new
Dude.
shoes right off the bat from like the uniform shop, but he didn't have the money. And if
Dude.
by
what-
some miracle, because he have to buy, he has to buy new shoes anyways because he lost a pair. But if that guy somehow managed to like gather enough money from his friends and stuff like that to buy real shoes and basically disguise himself, it would have been like the genius 10 head move if he somehow figured it out. Because
it's like pretty easy to get caught in school. Like, where would you go? You would rush to the bathroom. Well, you're the only person who's not in class. So
not necessarily. Like the only thing that the old cynical dude had on him was basically this guy's missing a shoe.
yeah.
And like again, all the kids look the same if you're that age. So basically the only, I would say, the only thing he could have been busted for is not having a shoe. And he was like figuring out how can I buy like a new pair of shoes from the uniform shop, but he didn't have the money.
Yeah.
But if he did, it would have been hilarious literally. But he somehow figured it out. Basically he got busted, and I think he got a green card for that. He definitely got a green card for that. And like in total, he had
He
two
did.
green cards. He had 2 green cards. So basically,
I'm
on
not
the
sure how
cusp,
many green cards. Yeah.
basically on the cusp of like almost being rusticated.
Yeah.
To be fair, I never had a green card. I had my name on the discipline register, but it was not for like misbehavior purposes. It was like for not completing
I had
homework.
it once.
Again,
yeah,
it
that
was not
same.
for like misbehaving and stuff and like breaking stuff
Exactly.
or like vandalizing the school. It was for not completing homework, like not listening in the class, stuff like that, like very very mild shit.
Exactly. Now that I think about it, kind of like the school system has not improved even a little bit.
Like
Even
again, like there are
kids these days have the same problem.
so many stories we can share. So many stories we can share
Yeah.
on this podcast. Like we can make like 4 entire podcasts just
4 is
talking
too
about.
less.
Yeah,
4 is too less. I
You
have
think-
so many
again, like
stories.
if we
The
consider
problem with you,
if we consider stories that-
mhm.
if we consider stories that like, do you remember the US trip our school had? The US trip that our school
Oh,
had.
that
That
has like
has
15
so many
stories.
so many stories attached to it. So many stories that could have been an
Mhm.
episode on its own. Yeah, I think you're
Yeah.
right. Like
But
8, like we can just
But-
double our
but-
podcast
yeah.
and just talking about like school stories and stuff like that.
Mhm. For sure. But the thing kind of like weird that I sort of like noticed today is when you think about stories like that, it often makes you think that our school life was good. We sort of like have those nostalgia moments and we
It
think to
was
ourselves like, hey,
miserable. What the fuck?
yeah, it
This was like
miserable.
the 1%,
It was
like the
ugly
1%
fucking
sliver.
shit.
Yup. What we are, I think
Mhm.
we will potentially mention more
Uh-huh.
stories. What we will always mention to you is like probably the one sliver of happiness that somehow slips by the daily monotonous stuff that happens in schools.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
not like the 1% that we lived for, basically. Like most of the time, I remember, especially like in 7th to 8th grade, like 6th to 8th grade, I would say, was the time where like
Life
shit
used
went
to be
down.
fun back then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the basically 6th to 8th grade was basically when shit went down.
Mhm.
Like,
For sure.
like that's where like almost every week there would be some sort of weird story that came out of our school. Like
Yeah.
somebody
Like,
doing illegal.
old
somebody's
Yeah.
doing like illegal substances. That happens
people.
a lot of time. Somebody's doing illegal substances in school.
You exactly know what we mean by illegal substances. I just don't want to say the word because
Like,
I'm not sure if that
from-
comes under YouTube's keywords. Yeah.
Again, like nobody gives a shit. If you're not like ultra specific, I think it's okay. Like
Yeah.
people doing illegal stuff and
Uh-huh.
like students vandalizing stuff and like insane dares.
Oh, vandalizing was pretty common. I remember this day once, like I was
Again,
sitting in
like-
front of.
Like
Uh-huh.
writing your name on the desk board. That's what's considered vandalism in like
Oh, that's
lot of US
that's
schools.
not.
But that's nothing
yeah.
compared to the stuff people have done in our school.
That happens
Nothing.
in India. Exactly.
Nothing. I have
That's not
I
even
have
the
seen
tip of the
I have
iceberg.
seen like
Yeah.
I have seen people tying firecrackers to like the front door of our school or like the front gate of our school.
You just know that. I know a lot more shit than that. 'Cause
Like I
have
even know
kind of like
somebody spray painted penises like a giant penis on one of our school walls. That was interesting.
The thing that is like different in both of us is the fact that we have been together in school and that's it, and we live in the same area, so we have those stories. If this guy was to spit some facts, let's call it that way, but I have so many more stories because I go to college now, and even our class in college is absolutely amazing. There's like shit happening all the time. Then I changed schools when I was a kid. Shit used to happen over there too. I have stories of so many things. I used to go to a cricket
Again,
class
like
back
I
in the
would
day
say
and-
I would say in that regards, like our school, like the one we both went to,
Mhm.
that has been the
Uh-huh.
like most eventful, I would say, in that regards.
No, not at all.
Again, oh sorry,
No,
I just forgot about
for
your
me-
college. I forgot about your college. Like
No,
the
not
shit
at all.
that
It's not even
the shit-
10%.
like the shit that goes on in his college is nothing. Is nothing. Like if you think you are having a dull day, like again, like the thing that I mentioned, like the 1% that we live for, like the 1% excitement that slivers through like the monotony of school.
Yeah.
Imagine inversing that 99% pure balls to the walls insanity. That's basically his college.
Okay. That is not my college, first of all. Secondly, it's just a group of people everywhere that do all sorts of crazy shit. And because you're not a part of my college, you only get to know those stories.
Yeah, imagine like, again, like the thing that we mentioned, like shoe going off the wall, old cynical guys entering our school to rant at the principals. That sort of stuff is rare stuff. That's the talk of the town, basically, when it happens. Imagine having so much shit going on that 90% of the people don't even care. That's basically his college. Shit goes down every day, every single day.
For sure, without a doubt.
Yeah. So what, like,
it's kind of crazy thinking about it now, because I remember also another incident where I was sitting in the ground. We sort of like played cricket for hours, and then what basically happened was we were sitting there, and from the third floor, our seniors thought it would be a fucking cool idea to have a chair and kind of like tie somebody's bag onto the chair and throwing the bag with the chair down from the window. And this some 500 geniuses thought this would be a good idea, and they threw it, and it just went very close to a bus driver who was resting there. It was like poof, it just went there.
Nearly killing that guy.
First of all, nearly killing that guy. Second, the chair was busted. Every single piece of wood was completely busted. Third thing, I don't even know what happened to that bag. But again, the weird thing about school is there's a lot of rules in the school. Of course, college probably has like more rules, but
nobody
you have a lot
gives a
of
shit.
freedom.
Nobody
gives a shit, exactly. I know it also kind of like depends. Our school was, I would say, fairly strict back when we were kids. By the time we got to 11th, 12th grade, we sort of like saw a slip in discipline, or not even like discipline. It wasn't like that strict. The feeling of, if I do something wrong, actions could be taken, kind of like went away, you can say. You know what I'm saying?
It's not, again, it's not just like we were younger back then. We were more fearful of like authority and stuff, like basically our teachers and our principals. It was like a general decline in like discipline, because like our
for sure,
our first principal was very strict, very strict, in that sort of sense. Like every like listening, when I was like in like first grade, second grade, I would hear some stuff from the teachers. Mainly they would say like this 11 this like this high schooler got busted for this kind of stuff, and he's basically like rusticated on spot, basically. No green cards, no nothing, rusticated on the spot. So it was, I would say, the rules were more strictly enforced. But as we approached basically 12th grade and like the high school, things just went hog wild.
Exactly. That's the kind of stuff that I'm not sure if our school life was fun. Now that I think about it,
again,
nostalgia
like
hits in.
You again, like you only. I think the main thing that people mention is, oh, I remember school life fondly. You remember school life fondly because you only remember the 1% that was rememberable, not the 99% monotonous stuff.
Exactly. That's the kind of like problem. I think in psychology, specifically behavioral psychology, if you go through the literature, they call it as confabulated memory or confabulation of thoughts. What happens is you only remember that 1% part that was good, or that was sort of like, as you said, memorable. That was either really good or really bad. And based on that, kind of like rewriting your memory over and over and over again. Just
again,
and number of iterations. It makes you think.
Again, like interjecting for a bit. When you mentioned bad stuff that happened to me, again, I wouldn't mention it. Again, like both of us, this happened to both of us. It happened to me when I was younger, so I was scared shitless. But when it happened to him, he handled it like a pro, because he was like in 11th grade and stuff. Remember the time you got falsely accused of like like basically beating up a child.
Yeah.
The same thing happened to me. But I did nothing. I did fucking nothing. And
Same. I didn't do anything either.
The thing about you is, what happened to you is, when like basically the teacher asked, do you remember anybody has any sort of evidence that this stuff, or like he did this stuff? Nobody put their hand out, because first of all, even if you did something, nobody wants to rat you out because you are a part of a class. Like, we are classmates. I wouldn't rat you out. But the reality is, you never did anything. So why would anybody rat you out?
Exactly.
The thing that happened in my case, I shit you not, the teacher walks in with a student that's basically in tears. The teacher interjects, like our home teacher, the teacher that's teaching. Wait a second, I want to cross check something. Teacher said, sure. The teacher that came in with the crying child went, everybody stand up. And the teacher went to the crying child, hey, just look around, who was the guy? The guy, I shit you not, pointed towards me. This crying child pointed towards me and went, this was the guy. And the teacher went, Yuvraj Bhatia? Yes, ma'am. I'm calling your parents. What the fuck, ma'am? I basically, again, like, I didn't curse, but that was the internal feeling. I was like, but why, ma'am? I went, why, ma'am? You beat this child in the bathroom. What the fuck? Why would I beat an underclassman in a bathroom for no apparent reason? And again, if you knew me back then, I was like the shy, silent child, the kind of child you would expect to like do nothing, absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was like the socially awkward shy child who did nothing.
Exactly.
And
kind of like thinking about it now, the thing that seems really weird to me is the fact that...
Let me complete my story.
Okay. Go ahead.
I shit you not. Then the teacher went. I said, ma'am, this is a base. Again, like, first of all, I was scared shitless. Like, the thing about children is, you cannot expect a children to like defend their case, because the moment you accuse them of something, they are basically scared to hell. So I was so scared that they're gonna call my parents that I didn't even defend my case. I was like, no, ma'am, I didn't do anything. Like, again, I could have brought up some sort of logical explanation of why I did not do it, or like I was in the class because I never like went out to the bathroom. I could have solved it logically, but I was a child. I was like in 4th grade. Then the teacher that was accusing me went, oh, okay, everybody who saw Yuvraj beat this kid in the bathroom, raise your hands. I fucking shit you not.
Somebody
even
would have done
girls,
that shit.
Even the girls raised their fucking hands. We are talking about me beating a child in a bathroom, which is, again, we don't have like gender neutral bathrooms here. In a male bathroom, in a men's bathroom, and the girls are putting their hands up saying, oh, we saw this guy beating this child, we saw Yuvraj beating this child in a bathroom.
Imagine now,
again, like the end of
shit
end
like
of the
that
day
happened to us now.
Again, like the end of the day, they didn't call my parents because the teacher basically said, oh, I don't think Yuvraj would do this sort of stuff. I think that's what basically happened. I don't remember the gist of it because I was so scared shitless, I don't want to go home today, basically. And the teacher never told me anything because I'm a 4th grader. Why would she care to like basically say anything to me? And I started crying. So again, but I shit you not, after this baseless accusation, I was like in like, I would say 10th grade, 11th grade, I would say, I met this child and he was getting bullied by some, not exactly bullied, like he was talking shit to like another basically one of my peers, basically, let's just say. He was talking shit to someone who is my grade. I went to him and I confronted him. I said, what the fuck was that you did in like 3rd grade? And he remembered
Yeah.
everything. He was like, I didn't know anything. And then we proceeded to beat the shit out of him. Not literally, just a slap or two around. And I didn't beat him. The guy that was talking shit to him beat him up. I was basically backseating him. Because the thing is, this kid was talking shit to someone who was, I think he was in 9th grade, I was in 10th grade, and the guy he was talking shit to was also in 10th grade. So basically, the 10th grader was my peer. And he was basically trying to start shit. The guy who accused me. And the 10th grader, who was basically my friend, didn't have enough reason to beat the shit out of him. When I came in and I explained my story, he went, "Don't worry, I got you covered. I will avenge you." And they proceeded to punch the shit out of him. Again, like, not like a proper brawl and stuff, like 2 punches and that's enough.
Just a second. My
And I
voice,
feel
I think,
vindicated.
got disconnected for
Again,
some weird
like,
reason. Just a
again.
second.
Okay, no issues. I'm just saying that I got vindicated, basically.
You can continue with the story. You can continue with the story if you want to. My voice got disconnected for some reason. Just a second.
Again, if you are wondering, oh, you should not have beat that child, or you should have stopped the child. Oh, the child should have stopped himself when he was accusing me of, like, fucking beating him up in, like, 3rd grade. Again, is the audio fixed, Dean? Hello? Hello? Hello, Deer? So what, like, we end should we just end the episode if you're having technical issues?
I think
we have just exceeded our time limit, so let's just end the episode if you're having, like, technical issues. Hello?
Yeah. Now
Should we just end the episode if you're having technical issues? Because I think we are already over our time limit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good.
I think so.
Again, if you want to hear more school, like, beating children story, follow us on, like, our YouTube channel and stuff like that. If you want to hear more, because I'm not kidding, a lot of children are gonna get beat up. Believe me. Like the things we're gonna mention, there are a lot of dog fights in our stories. Because back then nobody gave a shit. Let's just beat this child to death. That's basically what happened. Again, I don't think any serious injury came out of any fights that happened in our school. Not that I remember.
Yeah.
Basically.
One thing happened, but it did happen. Now that I think of it, it did happen.
Yes, I remember the road fight that happened. That where heads got smashed. Yep.
No. Not just the road fight. There was another fight of 2 guys where somebody's eyes got bruised. And then there was another fight of some other guy.
Yep. Just mentioning, the more brutal fights, the more brutal story that we are gonna mention is not of our class. It's basically 2 or 3 classes above.
Obviously.
Because
2 or 3 classes above,
school,
or it's
our
we
school
knew
had
it through
this-
a common friend.
Yep. Basically, our seniors, when we were in, like, 10th grade, our seniors were basically, like, almost every senior was basically a gangster. No way to put it lightly. And everybody had some sort of martial, like, let's just say, proper fighting training. Let's just say. You remember?
Those were kind of like the famous seniors. They were like the famous seniors.
Like the more popular seniors. Like, one of them had, like, a black belt in karate. Other one was, like, a national champion, and they brawled it out, stuff like that. One guy knew a lot of judo. So basically, everybody who was our upperclassmen were basically, most of them had some sort of, like, I don't know, like, martial art training, stuff like that. So a lot of brutal fights happened when they were seniors, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
And, like, when I say brutal, I mean, like, heads getting smashed through windows and stuff.
For sure.
And yeah, hopefully YouTube. Yeah. So I think we should it's a good point to, like, most likely than not, we will continue this topic in the next episode also. So if you want to hear more stories from us, don't worry.
Yeah, I can talk about this topic But I kind of like want this podcast to be in unidirectional. If you're talking like serious topics, I want it to be
Again,
like more forward and go in a
we
serious
will
direction.
mix
But
in, we will mix
if
in
the
like current
audience-
affairs and stuff. Don't worry. Like we will mix.
No,
again,
not
we will
about
talk
that.
about recent topics. We will talk about stuff that it's not necessarily about us or like our story. We will talk about general stuff as well, basically.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So I think we should end this podcast
Yeah, I think
over
it's a
here.
good point to end this podcast. Hopefully, YouTube won't
So-
demonetize us. Or again, demonetization is not an issue, but channel
We-
strikes
we-
are.
We didn't say anything like that. We
Again,
didn't say anything that's offensive to
You-
anybody in any
YouTube
sense.
works in mysterious ways, man. You can never be sure.
Yeah. Okay, for sure.
Again, and
So let's, I think, end the podcast over here. So thank you so much for
Yeah.
watching. We will catch you next week. The same timings, Friday, 7:30 p.m. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
bye.
Good night.